to that point, from what you do know about Jeffrey Epstein, do you think he committed suicide?
Of course not.
So you think that was...
Of course not. Why would he? He probably would have gotten off.
Hey roommates, it's your girl Thembi, and today I'm joined by Lisa Phillips, who is a former model who survived Jeffrey Epstein's global trafficking network. Today, she's stepping into the shade room to tell us a little bit more about her story from victim to voice and silence to leadership. Lisa, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm super excited.
Yes, I'm happy to have you here. All right, so give me a little bit about your background as a supermodel, the year 2000s. You're doing your thing, you're killing it, you're, ambitious, and you link up with one of your friends.
So like you said, I was a model in New York, and I was living my dream. It's what I had always wanted to do since I was like 13 or 14 years old. The 90s was that time when everyone wanted to be a model. And I just pursued that dream pretty hard after high school. I graduated high school in Belgium, actually.
Oh, wow.
My father was in the service. He worked at NATO, and I left Belgium and went straight to Miami Beach. It was like the heyday, late 90s. And started working my way up in the business. And I worked in South Africa for a while, and I worked in Greece and LA, and then I was like ready for New York. Moved to New York at the tail end of 1999. And then in early 2000, I had booked a really special job. It was the cover of a magazine and a spread with another model from my agency. And I was really excited about it. And we flew to Tortola in the British West Indies.
Fancy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just was a great time in my life. And, the other young model was just like, I have a friend who owns an island close by. We have a day off tomorrow. And, let's go hang out. And so we had talked to the crew, and they said it was okay. Ironically, it's kind of weird. They let us go, but we were able to leave for the day.
So tell me what the island was like itself and what the process even was to get you guys there.
Okay, so there was a boat that was sent for us. So we took the boat across from Tortola to Little St. John's.
Okay.
And so normal day on the island. It was very beautiful. We played in the water a little bit in the ocean. There was like a trampoline in the ocean.
Oh,
and
nice.
then, it was really cool. And then we went to the pool area, and there was like an older man there with some younger girls. I noticed they were all blonde. And the girl who brought me also was blonde. And we just, hung out and had a good time. Then we went to dinner, and we all sat at a table, and we had some really delicious food and enjoyed the evening. And that was the moment where I met Jeffrey Epstein.
So at this point, nothing seemed suspicious. It was just like, we're girls living our best lives. How cool. So at what point did that setting change for you?
Well, I mean, with older men and younger girls, this is something you see a lot in the modeling industry. It was prevalent back then. So, I mean, it's always like, it's kind of odd. But I didn't think anything of it. I certainly didn't think I was in any danger or anything. I was just enjoying the time away from, work. And so everything was fine the entire day up until the evening time. And then I went into like the quarters area where we were going to stay that night because they couldn't send us back to the other island until the morning.
Okay.
And so I was just hanging out with the other girl, just like on the bed and just talking and stuff. And that's when someone knocked on the door, and it was one of the other young girls from the
pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from dinner. And she just said, "Jeffrey's ready for your massage." And so at that point, that was the first I had heard of a massage. I didn't know anything about this man that I met, except for that he was very charming and very nice. And he paid a lot of attention to me at dinner and asked me a lot of questions. And
what kind of questions did he ask you?
well, he was really good at getting kind of into my psyche, like where are you from, and what's your family life like, and what's your relationship with your father, your siblings, and what are your dreams and aspirations, and all these questions that most men don't ask you. So most men talk about themselves most of the time, but this one was like honed in on like, who are you? And I want to know more about you, and you're so interesting. And
so you're feeling special.
yeah, it was super, special to have this, older, interesting, definitely smart, man, interested. But it was more like a mentor kind of thing.
Okay.
It wasn't like a playboy or, those type of vibes. And as a child, I had grown up in Oxford, England.
Right.
And he found that really interesting.
Okay.
And then, I just felt really comfortable with him. I didn't really think that much of it. So now we're in the bedroom, and I was told that I have to do this massage. And I said to the other girl, like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, well, Jeffrey kind of likes these massages. You just have to do it. And I just, I went back and forth with her a little bit on that, but I ended up, just agreeing and just going with her. And I left that room and walked over to his room.
Okay.
And we opened the door, we walked in, and he was naked on a massage table and, face down. And
what did you think at that moment when you walk into this room and you see him naked on the massage table? Like, what goes through your mind?
it was just like,
yeah.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It was just, everything was really odd, but I didn't feel in any danger. I just thought, okay, maybe I have to do this creepy massage. Like, it hadn't shifted yet.
Okay.
So it was an actual massage.
Okay.
And, with real massage techniques. So it did start off as a massage.
Okay.
And then things shifted. And he went a little dark with the way that he was speaking to me and her, and asked weird questions, like, do you have a boyfriend? And,
while you're doing the massage?
Yes, like weird stuff, And I was at my early 20s. I wasn't a teenager, but I was in my early 20s, off the plane from Belgium. Like, I wasn't really aware of these types of things, but I mean, long story short, he abused me and the other girl that evening. And, I just kind of ran out of there with her and went back to that room and kind of just looked at the ceiling all night and was just like, what the f is going on? Like, what's happening? And she didn't really have that many answers for me. I feel like.
Had she been there before, like through this before?
I didn't know at the time. She was maybe 22, like she was young too. And I mean, as we know now who Jeffrey is, this is kind of what he did.
Right.
But back then I just didn't really understand what was going on. I never blamed her. I just thought that I blamed myself and like, I'm in this situation, like, why did I come here and why did I agree to that? I just was scared.
Yeah.
And and I didn't really have anyone to protect me, and
so
it was just odd. It was an odd situation.
When you say like abused, like, do you feel comfortable? Like what was that exactly? Was it more mental? Was it physical? Was it sexual?
Well, it was physical and sexual.
Okay.
Abuse. Jeffrey had a way of abusing girls. It was a massage that turned into abuse, and he liked to use objects and things. A lot of people aren't aware that these serial predators obviously aren't having sex with hundreds of girls.
Right.
And they have to protect themselves as well. So it's not always penetrative things. So it's other things that they'll do. And are you aware of Larry Nassar, the medical doctor for the gymnast?
Right, the gymnast, yeah.
Very eerily, because I have a podcast as well, I was interviewing others. Like, it's a very similar type of abuse with objects and fingers, and I think it's called digital rape.
Okay.
That's the way he abused most of his victims.
Oh my goodness.
Both cases, both these men were very similar in that way. So when it comes to serial predators, it's a control thing, and they get off on that whole thing of seeing the fear in your eyes.
Yeah.
So to explain that, it's not always just what you think of a rape.
So there was someone who testified in his case that, Ghislaine taught them how to do the massage. Yeah. Did you encounter her at any point?
She wasn't on the island. I met her later on. But they were actual massages. I mean, he really did like to have massages. And there were real masseuses there. As we know, turned into sex slaves for the rich and powerful. So to answer your question, yes, they were actual massages.
That just went dark at some point. So you go back to the room, you're with your friend, and what happens from there?
Well, I just stayed up all night. I was scared, you know. I was trapped on an island. I didn't know how to get off the island. I didn't know what I remember. This is 20 years later. So I was just scared, and I just waited until the boat arrived in the morning, and we ran quickly and got on the boat and we left.
So you didn't even see them at all after that?
Never saw him again on that island.
Did you see your friend ever again?
Oh, she went with me.
Okay.
Yeah, back to the photo shoot.
Okay.
Finished up the photo shoot for a couple more days. Went back to New York. And yeah, she was a model that was with my model agency at the time. So I did see her, but I never really got any answers from her back then. And most of the young models or actresses and young women during that time didn't talk about it really. I mean, maybe there was some like, you know, like, does he do these creepy massages?
Right.
But we never really went further than that because, you know, I think victims, they blame themselves first of all, and there's a lot of shame. And this is a very different time where we don't speak about those things then.
So at what point did you feel comfortable to start talking about your experience?
Well, this happened in 2000.
Right.
And never felt comfortable during those years. You know, I got married, had kids, moved on, and it wasn't until Jeffrey died in 2019, so this is 19 years later,
Wow.
when I even started thinking about what happened to me back then.
Had you like blocked it off?
Well, you kind of do. You suppress it, you don't think about it, but Jeffrey got in trouble 2004, 2005. There was a Vanity Fair article.
Right.
There was, you know,
The kids in Florida.
in 2008. So I started thinking, like, starting to understand what kind of monster he was and understand the whole situation of what was really going on, but not an understanding like I do today. And it's probably not even all of it.
So you've talked about how after you left the island, at some point, like he reeled you back in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so after I got back to New York, I continued working as a model. I did feel a little bit more damaged, a little more. I felt damaged after that. So I stopped dating, and I started hanging out more on the social scene, and I started partying a little more and not really feeling that great about myself and very confused, but I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And then you have to understand with Jeffrey Epstein, this is an operation going on. So he has secretaries that are working for him, and they would call me profusely. They would call me all the time. Jeffrey thought you were amazing. Jeffrey thought you were really powerful. Jeffrey wants to help you out. All these things to try to reel me back in. I found out later why he wanted to reel me back in is because I'd seen important people on the island.
Okay.
But at that time, I didn't understand why he was calling me. They were calling me all the time.
Had you shared your contact information, or is this something they obtained on their own?
Oh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that, how he got my contact information.
So it was just out of nowhere, you were just getting these phone calls?
I'm not quite sure exactly how he got my contact information to begin with. That's not easy to find, though.
Right. Especially not at that time either. Without social media, you know, things of the sort, like to be calling you, getting your phone, you know, your phone number and all this stuff.
I'm sure it was from the other girl.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was about 4 months went by. And then one day, Jeffrey called me. And he said, "Hey, Lisa, it's Jeffrey. I remember what you told me on the island, that your main goal was to become a Ford model." And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, I'm really great friends with Katie Ford. And she owns the Ford modeling agency." I'm like, "I know." And he's like, "Well, you know, I told her about you, and she would love to meet with you." And so, to my thinking at the time, I was just like, wow, maybe he's not a bad guy. Maybe I'm overreacting. You know, he wants to help me. He probably is the good guy, like the other girl said he was.
He used your ambition to control you in a sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's what I had told him on the island that was my main goal. And And he got me in that way because that week I went to go meet with Katie Ford at Ford Models, you know, beautiful office in Soho on Green Street. It was a big dream of mine at the time. It was what I was working towards. And I met with Katie, and she signed me up, and I became a Ford model.
Wow. Wow. So at that time, are you thinking he made my dreams come true, I should stay in contact, or was that he made my dreams come through, thank you, and you move on? Did you continue on like a connection with him at that point?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I mean, naively, I thought, yeah, you did something bad to me. You're doing something nice for me. Thank you. That was going to be the end of it. You know, just stupidly thinking that way. When you get involved with somebody like that, they don't let you out of the circle.
Right.
So, I mean, I know this now. Mind you, I didn't know this then. I became a Ford model, but now we're finding out that Ford models had a lot to do with Jeffrey Epstein, with the exchange of girls back and forth. Many model agencies did at that time. I only found that out really recently in the last year. Like, I didn't even put that together until more recently.
Do you know, from what you know, if that was like an active partnership in the sense of exchanging, or really business, just business? Is that clear to you at this time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, these girls are teenagers and early 20s, and this is a man in his 40s. And so I don't think any person would think that it's business.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't own an agency. He didn't really own Victoria's Secret. It was just something, I don't know why, grown women were sending young girls to him, and other men, obviously. But I'm finding out a lot more now.
Okay. So he passed away, and you see that on TV, and how does that impact you at that point?
Well, when he passed away, it was a lot for me, because I didn't really understand my relationship with him. I didn't really think about, you know, any type of abuse at that time. I just thought about, well, I didn't think about anything. Let's just leave it at that. I did not want to think about anything. When he died, I just knew there was something. My body was telling me there was something. I was having emotional breakdown. And at that time, there were other women that were speaking out, Virginia Giuffre, and other survivors of Epstein. And so I just got in contact with them, and I just wanted to start understanding. I started reaching out to many girls that I knew back then at the time. What was going on, what was really happening. It took a while to really understand what was going on, because you know, women now are married, they have kids, they want to protect their, or they don't want to, a lot of them didn't even want to think about what happened to them. So, I mean, you have many that stay silent that I know, very dear to me, women now that stay silent, and there are ones that want to speak out, and they have maybe supportive partners who are like, yeah, speak out, you need to do this. It's something that happened to you, you need to own it. So I was just coming from that point of view. I didn't really have a supportive family, and the partner during that time who was sitting next to me when, you know, I saw the news that he had died on the TV, right like that, and he saw, you know, me run into the room, and just for days I just couldn't understand what was going on, and finally I had said to him, like, I'm really ready to talk to you and tell you what happened to me back then. And it was like really hard for me to, even because it was the first time I was going to say something about it. I'm getting emotional because it was very emotional back then. And he said to me, oh, I don't want to hear about it. And I was just like, well, what? And it was hard for me, because when you're dealing with these type of abuse, and it's hard for you to speak out, but it's also hard for people. I mean, maybe they're dealing with abuse of their own, or, you know, they don't want to support you. So, sorry.
That's okay.
So it was very, very difficult for me to start the process of like figuring what the happened to me back then. Like, why did he abuse me like that on the island, and why did he reel me back in? And there was a young woman who started speaking out.
Can we get some tissue?
And she's the woman who passed away recently. She took her own life.
Virginia.
Her memoir just came out. And if you read that memoir, you will understand why people who go through these types of things have a hard time dealing with their shame or their just being understood and seen about it. So you suppress it and you don't talk about it.
Did you try talk about, so you tried to talk to your partner about this, he shuts you down. At that point, does that empower you to talk about it to someone else? Does it make you feel more shame to where you stayed silent even longer?
The emotion comes from the fact of no support. And we'll get into that, why that later. That's so important to me with my podcast and with Capitol Hill. But what I was going through, to answer your question, was I just didn't have any support. The partner who I had given up my life for, my job, like to move in, blend our families here in Los Angeles, was basically telling me, deal with it on your own. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. And I realized that. And so I was seeking people who understood what was going on. And really, those were just the other survivors of Epstein, which there were hundreds of them.
Yeah. Had you talked to anyone else about it up until that point?
Girlfriends that knew him back then. But still, these are successful women who don't really want to go there.
Right.
I was looking for the ones who, a lot of the ones from Florida that were underage during the time, came from a different background in Florida. That was the relationship with Ghislaine and him, with these underage girls that were mostly white and blonde and things. And they were very different from the ambitious young women in New York that were 18 to 24.
I was going to ask how that affects your dating life and even friendships, because on one hand, that was a close friend, or, you know, I don't know if she was close, but it was a friend of yours who took you to the island. And even though you don't blame her for it, it's still an aspect of, this is my friend and who I went to this island with. So how has that impacted you with friendships and even romantic relationships?
That's a good question. I've never really been asked that before. She was an associate model friend back then. And I was pretty angry of what she had done. But I came to understand later that's how Jeffrey operated. So the way he operated was he got these young girls into his orbit, and they brought the other friends in. It was a brilliant, masterful scheme that people need to understand. I don't blame her for what she did. Because also she was probably very confused that this is a man who got her she was Polish, got her visa to work in the United States, introduced her to her husband, you know, probably helped her out with the agencies. He helps these women out. Mind you, he helped me out. So I also started feeling that maybe he's not a bad person in my mind. It's confusing to me as well. They were friends of mine who met him through me during those years. So, you know, we all don't blame each other. There's many layers of people who've met each other before me and after me. We don't blame each other because we didn't know better. Until now, we know what's going on. But back then, we kind of didn't really understand. And we also only thought it was just me. A lot of times you think it's just you. You don't think he's doing the same thing to others.
Did he or anyone else in his orbit ever try to use you to recruit other women, like actively, you know, outside of just being around your friends and happen to be in the same room, but like actively like bring women to him?
Well, there were actual recruiters that worked for him, and there were women in the office who were the ones who called the girls. I think the younger girls were just bringing their friends or people that they knew, because they would say, "Oh, you got into NYU. Who helped you? Oh, so and so helped me. Oh, wow, you got an art studio. Who helped you? Oh, he helped me." So people wanted to meet him. That's a very confusing part about Epstein, but that's kind of how he operated. Was the friends brought other friends. He would call me up and say, "Oh, bring some friends. I'm having a party," and then I would show up with like 6 girlfriends that were models and go to his house, and we'd all walk into this room and there was like all these old men and like, okay, this is not really a party. We were just think, okay, this is weird.
Were you nervous to take any of your friends to any of those parties, or did you like kind of like disassociate at that time?
Well, that's probably what I did. I did a lot of disassociating back then, but I didn't see like my friends, you know, being brought into a room or you know, had anything done to them at those parties. I didn't really think anything of it. And then I was also a model where the owners of agencies were also taking you to parties and charity events, and there were always these young girls and older men. So it was something I just thought was maybe normal back then.
Yeah.
You know, that was a common thing you saw.
Yeah. I mean, even today, to some degree, you could still see younger women, older men.
Yeah.
So I can understand that for sure.
Yeah.
So at the time you were reeled back in, right? You said you feel as though it's because you saw some important people on the island. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Who you saw or what you saw? What was that specifically?
Well, remember I told you when I was sitting at dinner that I had told him, so I have a very interesting childhood. You know, I had spent a lot of time in Europe, and, you know, I was very cultured.
Yeah.
And, you know, someone of his sophistication like that.
Yeah.
Actually, his partner, Ghislaine, was from Oxford. So when I said that, the person that was on the island that day was from England, and he was a prince. So I guess that was a little showboating to be like, oh, you want to meet a prince? And so when I met him, it was very brief, but I also didn't think much of it because I'm more American, even though I lived in Europe, and we don't really care about the prince in the States. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a big deal to me. But after I had went back home, my girlfriend at the time, who had a relationship with him that was very different from mine, had also been abused by the same person that I saw there. And so when you see these kinds of things, you have to stay silent about them, and you can't be off frolicking around talking to people, so they keep you kind of close. So I didn't really understand why I wasn't really able to break away so much or kind of say no to him without even getting upset. I understand it now.
Yeah.
I didn't understand then.
I know, and I don't know if you can say this, but I know Prince Andrew has been attached to Jeffrey. Was that the prince you saw, or can you not confirm that?
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, I've already said it. I've already.
Okay.
He was the reason why I spoke out originally. Was because Virginia spoke out in 2019. She was making allegations about him, and Jeffrey had died. So I felt safe enough to be like, well, she's telling the truth. So I need to start speaking up. I naively was thinking, you know, that I wanted to support Virginia and the other girls. I wasn't quite ready yet to speak about my story. That kind of took a couple years to get there.
All right. So when people hear the word trafficking, there's a very specific thought for a lot of people that comes to mind. You know, the more stereotypical movie type girls trapped in a house or cage with the macho man outside and, you know, being sold. Like that's what's like, for a lot of people, that's what comes to mind. But you've talked about how in your experience, it included, you know, flying you to different places to meet, you know, whether it's a major director or something of the sort. So can you talk a little bit about how that is trafficking? It's not the traditional way of how people understand what trafficking to be, but can you speak a little bit about why that is trafficking?
Yes. Trafficking, when it comes to Epstein, in my opinion, is why he had this ring. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that back then. I'm only starting to understand it now as I was deposed for cases, and I was telling my story because I had to tell it. It's not because I wanted to tell it.
Right.
I never sought to be this person outing anybody or speaking out about my story. It's very difficult, as you can see still. It's very difficult for me to talk about for a number of reasons. But the trafficking thing is a hard thing to, it's a hard thing to understand. I'll try to explain it the way that I have seen it or that I've been told how it happened to me and other girls that were involved in this web.
So obviously at the time you didn't even understand yourself that was trafficking.
Well, I wasn't thinking I was trafficked, not
right.
at all.
Right.
I was thinking,
I'm getting an
here I
opportunity.
am. I go to NYU, I'm taking acting classes, I'm with the top modeling agency and a top acting agency, if someone says, hey, I have an audition for you that you're right for, you'd be like, yes. Wouldn't you go? If it's a big director that you know who it is, nobody would say no. So when he would say to me, you know, I know so-and-so in Los Angeles who's, you know, shooting this big film, they're in pre-production, they're casting, and you're the right type, I would say, okay, I want to go. And so I would fly to Los Angeles, I would do a casting, I would do an audition and fly home. And I would think that, you would think that that was just a normal thing because many people in the business did that. And I didn't find out until 20 years later that other girls that we started speaking out, they were sent to the same person. It wasn't necessarily for me, let's say, because I was a model and actress. Let's say someone's interested in, you're an artist, you know, and you're a painter. So this is a high profile person who could help you. He would introduce that person to him. And later on, you're called a couple days later to go meet with them. And so that person's excited that this person wants to go meet with them. They go to meet with them, and then there's an assault or something that happens. Or they're, you know, you're not aware that you're supposed to go and meet somebody for a particular reason, but the men are aware that you're being sent.
So he used real opportunities essentially to, as part of this trafficking network. So
there you go. You hit it on the nail. So whatever the girl's interested in, it was a real opportunity that they were sent for, where they're thinking it's an opportunity.
So how did these powerful figures know that, for lack of a better word, these were Epstein's girls, right? Like, do you know, like, what exactly or how the organization worked to where they're aware, like, you know, this is someone who's come in from Epstein versus this is someone who's just coming in because she's on the schedule for the day via this other legitimate way versus via Epstein? Like,
well, I mean, I've learned that just because you're a powerful person and a girl from Epstein sent you doesn't mean that person's aware of it. They have people that are handling their appointments and schedules. So Jeffrey had women that were handling his appointments and schedules. So they're communicating with each other, but they're very much aware of who's sending you, because they know if your acting agency is sending you, your modeling agency is sending you, your manager is sending you, or Jeffrey's sending you. So they're aware of who.
Okay, so they, you know, in your, whether it's your experience or the people you've spoken to, you get to this audition or this meeting or, you know, whatever it may be. What happens then?
Well, the auditions don't look any different really from a lot of the auditions I had from my own agents, because you were hit on sometimes through your legit agency. But 9 times out of 10, if Jeffrey sent you for an audition or for Tracy casting or things like that, usually you're hit on in a more aggressive way. Usually you're asked to dinner, so you're alone with him. There were things that were happening where I kept thinking, gosh, why do I keep getting hit on or assaulted? You know, and just in my mind for those many years, just thinking that it was like, there were some bad men, to stay away from them. I didn't realize until later on when I started connecting the dots, when I was sent for a handful, it was only a handful, it wasn't like it was 20. So a handful of auditions, those men were also being sent maybe 8 or 10 others.
Wow. Were you ever abused by any of these men?
Absolutely.
So it continued at you know,
well, back then I didn't. A couple times. One time there was an abusive situation.
And you've talked about how for most victims, a lot of it wasn't sex, so they don't connect that to being abuse.
Well, I was talking about serial predators.
Okay.
Who are seeing 6 to 8 girls a day.
Okay.
It all can't be sex. When you're sent to a director, they usually want sex, yes. I had a couple bad experiences as a young actress. I have an NDA with one of them, so I can't really say the other situation. And then finding out later, my model agency had a lot to do with it as well.
Did you ever try sue your modeling agency? Like, how does that work? Like, how do you hold your modeling agency accountable?
What was it called when they make you come?
Subpoena?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So a lot of these cases were because I was subpoenaed or deposed and I had to be honest and say what happened to me. This was never like on my own saying that I'm going to go after these men. I've never wanted to or go after the owners of my agencies. That just, I'm ready to move on with my life. That wasn't really my angle.
Right.
It just happened to come out that way.
So we flash forward, right, to modern day. At some point, Jeffrey's arrested. They go through the trial. Ghislaine's sent to jail. Modern day, the government says they won't release the list, the client list for the sanity of the survivors. And you and some other survivors make a powerful stance and go to Capitol Hill and basically say, well, if y'all aren't going to release the list, we're going to release our own list with what we saw and who we know. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Very powerful, by the way.
Thank you. It did feel very powerful. I think in that moment for me, it was just about taking my power back. I felt so helpless for so many years. I felt confused and isolated and really kind of getting angry, standing there listening to these young girls, their experience when they were young girls. And a lot of them were really dark. And we're kind of all aware because there's hundreds of us. We all kind of talk amongst each others and we kind of connect the dots a little bit. And we have a list of names of people that we saw. And I mean, Virginia Giuffre has a long list of names that she was abused. And I don't think it's our main goal as survivors to out these men. I mean, we're not foolish, and we understand they're very powerful men, and we understand they're probably going to get away with everything. What we were trying to say is that, the DOJ has a responsibility to release people that were involved and that enabled Epstein and this very powerful and dark and disturbing sex trafficking ring. I mean, that is a truth. JP Morgan funded it, admitted to it, settled on it. So we're aware of the facts. And Jeffrey recorded everything. There's flight logs. There's mounds of information out there. And they know. So we get really upset why they're keeping it so much of a dark secret. It's upsetting to us.
What's the current status of you guys' list? Like, is there a reason you haven't published it yet?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people think that I was going to say, or, other people have stepped up and said they were going to release this list. I mean, I don't know if there was a client list. I mean, there were people who were benefiting and profiting off of Epstein. And the FBI and the government has all the information. It's not my job or these survivors' job to stand up there and read off a list of men. I mean, it's never going to happen. So what I was saying was I was talking to survivors out there that you don't have to be ashamed anymore, and you can own your story, and you can speak out, you can join us, we can get more powerful together, and we can start pushing for things to happen. We do have things in store that we are, trying to create change and make things happen, but we're not the ones that are going to stand there and read off some list. We're just not going to do that. So I think people got very confused about that.
I took it as that, I took it as if you're not going to release the list, we're going to release, our own list with what we know.
Politics is theatrics, really. And it's like, you want to with us? Like, we back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, we're gonna do this little dance with you because we want to take our power back. We don't want to sit there like little victims. We're grown women now, and we do have the power to make changes. Maybe not to hold these particular men accountable, but it angers me that there's only a woman in jail.
There has been talks about, so Ghislaine, she's in jail, but people say it's like a vacation jail, and she was sentenced to 20 years for sex trafficking. There has been conversation about potentially pardoning her. Does that trigger you in any way, or affects you in any way?
Of course it does. I have kids that age. You know, they're children. So I don't know what it is, what the responsibility that I have. I've always felt that I have. It's just, I want to protect them, you know, or these kids. And just listening to these women now speak about what happened to them. A lot of them were raped. A lot of them, he took their virginity. Like, this is like some serious things that were going on here. This isn't just like a creepy little massage. These kids have these women now, they have major trauma, you know. I can see it. It really deeply affects them. As you see someone like Virginia Giuffre, like taking her own life. Yeah. Like this is stuff this is very important.
Do you believe she took her own life?
Oh, absolutely, of course she did. Okay. It's a cycle of abuse. She was abused as a child by her own father, creating these conspiracy theories that, you know, someone's running around Australia trying to kill people. No, there's something that's very real called the cycle of abuse. And when you've been abused, you feel worthless. And you sometimes have people in your life who don't support you and make you feel more worthless. Anyone who's gone through trauma as a child, as a young person, or any time in their life, you have to realize that you have a feeling about yourself. It's a sense of worthlessness and shame. That's what the abuser puts on you.
Have you ever had thoughts about harming yourself?
Never. No. No, I mean, never. I just don't come. I'm surprised I don't. You know, but I've always been a very healthy person, I feel like. I've also been caught in the cycle of abuse as well, you know, with my husband, and then a few years ago with another boyfriend.
Your husband abused you?
Well, I didn't choose well after this. I didn't choose well. You know, I didn't get the healing and the therapy that I needed. I suppressed it. When we suppress things, it's going to come out in other ways.
In a different way,
You know what I mean? I've had major therapy over the last couple of years. So I was caught in that too. And so I understand Virginia. Remember, Virginia is the reason why I spoke out originally in 2019. And I believe she was the one I saw on the island when I first went there. I want to support her story. And I know that she had the cycle of abuse from childhood with Epstein and Ghislaine, many other powerful men. And unfortunately, she chose a husband who was supposed to protect her, who also, towards the end of her life, she was beat up by him. We all saw the pictures. Yeah. So she was trapped, and she didn't feel like she can get out of it. Yeah. She's a powerful woman for, taking on these men. It took a toll on her, but she was powerful. She was like, I need to say something. I need to do something to bring this down, because so many people tried to, and she was the most effective. And she was the reason why I started speaking out. But I sympathize. I mean, I empathize with her because I have also been through that type of cycle.
So when it comes to even your cycle, I read you talking about how you met someone you thought you were in love with, and they tried to abuse you in the same way Jeffrey did. Can you talk about
you do your research, don't you? That was the reason why I started the podcast.
Okay.
A lot of people think I started this podcast because of what happened to me years ago with Epstein. But it's really because I started speaking out. I was on documentaries, and it took me a little bit of time to speak out. I was really sticking up for the other girls because they were these powerful men that were in the headlines. And I was kind of not really ready to talk about mine. It came a little bit later. But to answer your question, I was in a relationship with a man that I was deeply in love with, and that's when I started speaking out in 2019, and he was not supportive. And I just felt so much worthless with this man. Just didn't make me feel beautiful, or I just didn't feel like, I was anything for him. And I wanted a man in my life that was more like a friend and someone I could talk to. And I was on this Lifetime documentary, and a man from Boston, many men actually, reached out to me. I don't know how, the topic matter. I don't know why you'd find someone like me attractive, when you're speaking out about this kind of thing. But I got a lot of mail.
Interesting.
But this one man in particular, he was into commercial real estate and he was successful, and he had a lot of pain from his childhood. I think he had been abused. Well, we just became really great friends, and we had a friendship. It wasn't the love of my life. It wasn't really a attraction. It was more just a great friendship, I thought. So I knew him for about 5 months, and it was during the pandemic, and I moved myself and my boys to Boston for a few months, you know, just to be close and get to know this man. And I'd known him for about 5 or 6 months, and on the night that we were going to be intimate, you know, I never talked about this, but this man wanted to abuse me in the same way that I had been telling him. You know, it's just like, it broke me because, why am I so emotional? That broke me because I was just like, are you frigging kidding me here? Like, this is man I trust, you're my friend. And he just wanted to do the exact same thing that had happened to me on that island. And I just thought it was sick. Like, you're sick, you're a sadist. And, you know, it was tough. It was just tough because I just felt like, am I fooled again? Am I that stupid?
No.
He wasn't right. And I thought it was kind of messed up that he wanted to do those things with me instead of being loving with me. And he didn't know how to be loving with me. And so that kind of broke me. And that was 3 years ago, and I didn't date. You know, after that, I just fell into this like, why can't I meet a good guy?
Yeah. So you confided in him.
Oh, yeah, for 5 months.
He used that against you.
My best friend for 5 months.
Wow.
You know, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not so attracted to this man, but like maybe we'll be together. And, you know, we were really forming a relationship to be together. It wasn't the type of relationship that, you know, most women want. Like, you want more of a passionate thing. But I liked the friendship that I had. And I did have a deep friendship with him. Fortunately, he was religious. He was a good Christian man. Bullshit.
So is those ones.
A good Christian man, and all the man had some demons, but that's what he wanted me to do with him. But I wasn't the one to do those things with him. I had so much trauma from my early years. I wasn't willing to do those things that he wanted.
Which is what? The things he wanted?
I mean, probably normal things for guys listening, but like sex toys and threesomes and things like that. That's how I've been abused. I wasn't looking for that in a man. I wanted like regular.
So how do you, what's healing like for you? Because you had this situation 20 plus years ago. It continues to an extent within your career. You meet men who, you know, abuse you as well. So what does healing look like for you? And do you feel like you're healing?
Well, I mean, I'm not the type to always blame the men. I know they have their own separate issues. I also chose them. I started to realize that, you know, I chose a man who didn't love me the way that I needed. And then I chose a man who, you know, was sadistic. And I just had this realization, you know, I need to take a step back and take some time and just really heal and really go deep into therapy. So that's what I did over the last few years. And I went deep into EMDR therapy.
Which is what?
It's intense. I did it, I still do, twice a week, 2 hours each day. It's using the lights back and forth. The lights shine in your eyes. You go back and forth into your memory. You take those memories and you work on them, and then you put them in a safe place. And I had to go back into childhood, back into my divorce, back into these back-to-back you know, difficult relationships, and start to really understand what were my boundaries now. Like, what was I doing to attract these men or to be vulnerable to these types of men? And
do you have the answers to that now?
Well, I really wanted to I feel like I have this sweet personality that people can take advantage of easily, and I probably am a little naive just because I was raised, you know, my parents are still together, and I was raised in Europe. I didn't have really maybe that toughness. You know, I'm just making excuses. I don't know what was wrong with me. A lot of us have trauma that we haven't dealt with. I just hadn't dealt with all that trauma. So I just said, you know, I'm going to take a couple years, in which I did, and just didn't date, and just dealt with the deep and the darker stuff that I needed to deal with. So that's what I did, and I just focused on my kids. And then I was, you know, I'd been in the modeling industry since I was 16 years old. I was like, I don't want to be in this business anymore. Lisa, this a year, almost a little more than a year ago, I was like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? Let's get out of this business. You don't need to be in this business anymore. I wanted to give back, and I wanted to like serve people, and I'd connected so deeply with survivors of assault, men and women. Like I always talk men too, not just women. And I wanted to do something that was deeply moving and powerful, and something that was kind of scary and courageous of myself as well. And so podcasting is where it's at, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody has a podcast. But I was just like, I want to have a podcast that only speaks to the survivor. I want to have it survivor to survivor. Because when I did documentaries and speaking out, I couldn't talk to people who weren't survivors. I didn't feel the empathy, and I really couldn't open up. See how I open up with you? Maybe you have something that you empathize with me. I feel that with you. That's why I can kind of be vulnerable with you. And it wasn't like that with a lot of people. And I was really just like this rigid person, you know, looking all put together all the time. It's not really what I wanted to do. So I wanted to have a podcast where, look, let's be vulnerable. Let's break it all down. Like you have stuff. Like let's talk about it. And so I would just have all these guests on. And
that has been healing for you to an extent.
Oh yeah, it's healing. Yeah. Because when you hear other people's stories, stalking, trauma bonds, domestic violence, serial predators, all of it, you find a little bit in your story, and things start to make sense to you after a while. So it's been very, very healing over the last year.
And your podcast, it's called From Now On. What's the meaning behind the name?
Well, from now on, I always ask each guest to finish that sentence. So like, from now on, I'm going to be courageous, or from now on, I'm going to have boundaries, or whatever it is for you that you're realizing about yourself. Okay. So the guests are not in their trauma. So it's not just like this whole like trauma dump, and it's more of you've gone through the healing. Maybe you've written a memoir, a book, or you have a series coming out, or you have your own podcast.
You're in a place you could talk about it.
Yes. We're at a place where we're going over the arc of the healing.
So. What role do you believe men can play in the healing process?
Well, I have a sensitive spot for men because I'm raising 3 little boys, and there's a lot of abuse, and I knew that in the mowing industry from men, but it's kind of a hush-hush thing, and like with the P. Diddy case, a lot of the cases were men. And a lot of people in the headlines, they don't talk about that in the news and the media. There's a lot of men that have abuse. And it would break me when I would be speaking to a man and he tells me about his abuse from childhood. I couldn't keep it together, but it's something that needs to be told. And so I honor both men and women, anyone who wants to tell their story. I just think it's all important, not just... I'm not like a woman's right, like all about women. I don't buy into that stuff. Yeah. I'm not a feminist. I'm more like, it's all of us together. Right. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it. You may not, and many other women don't. But I want to start with men too, and understand how important they are to us. And there are good men out there. I see that, and sometimes men don't feel like they can be good. Even my 11-year-old child would be like, "Oh well, how am I supposed to respect her, Mom? Look what she's wearing." And we're all like, what? What do you mean? What is she wearing? She can wear what she wants to. Well, actually, we both need to understand, and respect each other so we can move on and live together and have more powerful relationships.
Well, for someone who has experienced a lot of trauma, you also do have there's a part of you that's like, I can feel like you're okay, like you're still obviously healing and going through things, but it's good to know, like, the fact that you can even see and say, there's good men out there. And kind of going back to the list, the Capitol Hill moment, very powerful moment. In the event the DOJ does release this list, then what? For you and some of the other survivors, what happens from then? Is it just a relief? Like, what's the next steps after that?
Well, I think this is going to be an ongoing thing for a while. But as they start releasing some names, obviously it's a great thing to have people held accountable. But I mean, there's going to be many other, steps after that.
Is there from your encounters and the women you've talked to, without saying any names? I mean, you can if you want to, but I understand, there's a sensitivity around it. Is there anyone that is going to be shocking to people? And I'm sure there's going to be a level of shock in general for these people who are on this list, but is there anyone who you're like, if that name comes out, it's gonna shake the table? No.
I think the general public has an idea. Most people have been linked either way. If you did your work, like, you definitely put a lot of names together. There are a lot of it's out there.
Yeah.
They haven't been proven.
Okay.
That how much they were involved, or what went on. I don't really think there's going to be much shock.
Okay.
I don't. I just think that a lot of the men that we know that we've talked about are people that most people wouldn't even like take 2 looks at. Like, you wouldn't even like think, what? Like, in tech or academia, whatever it is. It's just, people might be like, oh, that would never have thought that person would be doing that.
Right. Okay. So you've spoken about the president, Donald Trump, and that, you've never personally seen him involved, but he may be, maybe potentially protecting people close to him, or maybe even himself. But he's recently addressed this case, or, the files specifically, or the list, as a hoax.
Right.
What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, that was upsetting when he said that, because that was right when we were all speaking out on Capitol Hill. It wasn't really easy, because I do believe it was taken out of context. I think that everyone in the media focuses on him, and I kind of agree with the president in that way, that they need to stop focusing on him, get the attention off of him, and start looking at others. I mean, was he around? Was he friends with him? Probably so. I don't know how involved he was. I mean, most of the survivors that I know never saw him there. There were other former presidents that were seen there, prime ministers and other people. I don't understand why the focus isn't on them more so than our current president. So, unfortunately, I can feel his angst is coming from, and it shadows what's really going on, unfortunately.
From your point of view, has there been a significant difference in the journey to justice between the Biden administration and the Trump administration? Or
well,
not
unfortunately,
really?
it's all coming out right now.
Okay.
Under the Biden administration, but we weren't ready to speak out then. It wasn't really pushed so much then as it is now. Just for whatever reason, it all just exploded in the last few months.
Probably because of the president, one would assume.
Well, because wanting to take him down. I do understand that people are annoyed and they have their reasons to take him down. I just think when you focus so much on him, we're getting away from
the real problem. So when you found out that Jeffrey Epstein had passed away by way of suicide, did that bring you a sense of relief or a sense of frustration?
Oh, I don't know how to describe what came over me, but it was very powerful. I mean, I kind of had a like emotional breakdown. I haven't had one before that. I haven't had one since that. I don't know. It was confusing, because in a way he was a powerful mentor to me in his moments, in his good moments, but then it was a very well knowing of some dark things that had gone on, and it was a relief that he was dead, like he was gone. It was just a relief that I was like, now I can breathe now, like I can breathe now, and I can actually start thinking about it and talking about it. I mean, if he was alive today, I wouldn't even be sitting here. You know.
Do you think he'd still have some kind of mental hold on you?
Absolutely. Of course, I would never speak out if he was still alive.
Out of fear or out of control?
Oof, it's a hard one. I have no idea, but not many people would be speaking out. Fear, yeah. He was scary. He can go from being super charming to being really frightening.
do you fear for your life or your safety at any point, like speaking out, or no?
Well, I didn't expect what happened at Capitol Hill to be such a big deal. Wasn't expecting that at all. So after it happened, it was a little scary because there was thousands of people that reached out, thousands of people, and mostly were supportive. But we're receiving weird mail and emails and things like that.
Like threats or supporters of the predators?
Supporters, I don't mind.
Okay.
It was some very odd things that were said, and like, there are crazy people out there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's crazy people out there. So I'm very careful at what I say. I mean, most of what I do talk about was already said before I spoke out. And like I said, I have an NDA. I don't say anything about him. There are certain people that I'll never say things about. There's just a lot of the survivors have received death threats, and most of us have kids. So it's we have to be very careful. I like living.
Yeah. There was a sense of relief when he passed away. Was there frustration in the sense of he didn't live out, his day in court or like a full life sentence or, anything? There wasn't like, some may say he got the easy way out. Some people, some survivors, we say he got the easy way out. They want him to live every day behind bars or, whatever it may be. Did you have that frustration or not so much?
I think most survivors would have liked to have seen him live his day behind bars. I think that probably would feel good. But I think, I don't know, with this type of person, I think him being deceased is probably the best feeling to feel. Yeah. I just think he was too powerful of a man, and he had too much on people that him being alive in jail is scary.
Yeah. To that point, from what you do know about Jeffrey Epstein, do you think he committed suicide?
Of course not.
So you think that was...
Of course not. Why would he? He probably would have gotten off, on all charges, I'm sure.
So you think that he was probably confident that I know enough, I can...
Of course, that's why he did everything that he did. Yeah, I don't think for a second that he committed suicide.
There's been talk about there were a lot of cameras around his home and things like that. How confident are you on your take that wasn't that the tapes were for like blackmail and not like some predator trophy or personal gratification?
I don't know. You're going to have that many cameras recording every single thing on every house that you own just for like, to play back and watch it? No.
And they were everywhere?
They were everywhere. Yeah. They were everywhere. And it's like it's for a reason, for sure. Yeah.
Epstein is deceased. Ghislaine is in jail. What does justice look like to you at this point?
That's a good question. I flip-flop a little bit on what justice. Sometimes I get really angry and I want to push this, and like when people call me like, you're going to go for this and you're going to speak out about this, and I'm like, yeah, I want to do all this stuff. I want to put, have all these people held accountable, and it's a tricky one because when you do that, now everyone else has to speak out, like, or subpoenaed, and you have to go to court and you're dragged through the dirt, and there's a lot of young women, girls, children that were involved that need to be protected. So I just want to leave it up to the DOJ to do their job and whatever they feel is necessary and how far it can go. But I do feel like they're protecting them for a big reason. Yeah. We all probably don't really understand how deep and dark maybe that goes. What's the real reason why? I think for justice for me is just doing the best that I can do to change legislation, change laws, and advocate for bills, and do this podcast and have a place where survivors could come and speak and share their stories and own their power again. To me, that's really what I focus on believe it or not, much more than the justice side of things.
And my last piece on that, there was an Epstein victims compensation fund paid out. It paid out over 120 million to 136 survivors. And apparently 52 women privately settled claims. Is that a form of justice in your opinion, or a form of protection still from the powers that be?
That was the original fund. The JP Morgan fund was close to 250 million with over 200 survivors. So there was two. I can tell you that a settlement, of course, helps take care of your kids and pursue your dreams and things like that, but it doesn't heal you.
Did you receive a settlement? Or
Not from the two you said.
No? Okay.
From the JP Morgan one, but what was fantastic and that you don't understand and people don't understand listening at home, the settlement obviously helps. I do like my new shiny Porsche. Okay, but that's not what helps. They gave us 5 years of therapy. 5 years of therapy. That's what's helped me. Like driving around in a Porsche or going through school or buying a new house for a lot of these survivors, I'm telling you, is great. But when they gave us 5 years of therapy, and I'm now almost 2 years in, that is life-changing. That is where the boundaries are built, and that's where I'm getting tough, and that's where you see the power in me, and that's where you see the woman in front of you is from JP Morgan's therapy they gave us. 5 years, that's powerful. The money comes and goes and is not, trust me, look at Virginia. She was paid out, I don't know, 12 million, 20 million over the years. I don't know how much, it was a lot.
And still took her own life.
So to answer your question, she's not here today.
Yeah.
So money doesn't heal.
That's interesting that part of the settlement includes therapy.
Isn't it great?
Wow.
It's those women that you saw on Capitol Hill standing there before you was the therapy that got them there. It wasn't money. Like it angers me when people are like, oh, you got a settlement or you just want money. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you know how much my podcast cost? You know. Like the healing is what really matters.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's next for your advocacy work, and what's your message to survivors who are still living in silence or living in shame?
Advocacy work, I'm not stopping now. It's like 10x'd since Capitol Hill. A lot of wonderful projects I'm really passionate about. So I'm not done there yet.
Yeah.
Won't be a full list, but I'm not done with advocacy work, and I got some really exciting things happening there. And the second half of your question, well, I'm starting with the podcast. We're going into season 2.
Congratulations.
Looking for a new home
Yes.
for season 2 and amplifying survivor voices because we do have the power. And that was the third question.
What's your message to
yes.
survivors who are still living in silence or in shame?
Ooh, you can live in silence for your whole life, but I would encourage you to just own that part of yourself, the good with the bad, with the ugly, and own it. Speak it out loud. Talk to people. Talk to other people that support you. Find a good support system. And own that story, because that's the real healing process is going to happen once you kind of own that story. And it's okay if you stay silent if that's your path. And then true healing will happen when you start talking about it. And you do kind of step into another level of power that you find you probably don't even know you're capable of. I mean, I always knew it was in there, and it's been pockets of my life. I feel it. Nothing like now. And it's because I've owned my story, and I say, like, F you to those who didn't stick up for me, who abandoned me, who shamed me. Like, I don't need you anymore. For so many years of my life, I just was desperate for that parent or that sibling or that partner or attention or, support. I don't need it anymore because I found it in me by going through this process. So everyone's capable. Little by little, step by step, you'll get there.
That's amazing. Good for you. Well, I want to end this with a nod to you from your podcast. So for you, Lisa, from now on, what?
Ooh. No one's ever asked me that. Oh, let's just go really simple. From now on, I'm going to have very strong boundaries. Because that's where I feel like when you see me smiling and stuff like that, when I have those strong boundaries, it makes me feel really, really good. Because then only the people who I know, love, and really support and care about me are in my life.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today and sharing your story and just being, brave enough, but courageous, and for your honesty. For the people who want to know and follow you and your work, listen to your podcast, where can they find you?
My podcast is From Now On podcast on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. From Now On podcast. Actually, it's From Now On pod. And I am Lisa Phillips.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Thank you again for sharing your truth and helping others in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been really cathartic speaking to you.
Awesome.
And thank you for your empathy. It means a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Hey roommates, if you want to see more celebs stepping into the shade room, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here.